Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome. My name is Janelle, and I'm a registered social worker in private practice, and I make videos on mental health. Let's get started. Trauma can have a lasting impact on how we view ourselves and how we view the world around us, and it impacts our sense of self. It could also alter our personality, and it can make trusting other people very difficult. Have you ever felt weird or awkward around people? Or perhaps you felt like you couldn't quite fit in with the group. Maybe you spend so much time in your head that you miss out on what's happening right in front of you. Perhaps you believe that your colleagues and your acquaintances judge you or perceive you as weird. No matter how hard you try, you're just not quite comfortable. Yes, you are probably socially awkward and you probably don't even know how to socialize, but it's for a good reason. I'm going to discuss 8 reasons why trauma can negatively impact your ability to socialize as an adult. Number 1, you lack trust and you're always suspicious of other people's intentions. This can definitely prevent someone from socializing and knowing how to socialize with others, especially if you grew up in an environment where you couldn't trust the people that were closest to you because they caused you physical harm, mental harm, or emotional harm. It will be difficult to trust anyone else after that experience. You may question, why are they being kind to me? Or if they do something nice, you'll question if they have an ulterior motive. You're so used to being hurt, the idea of someone not wanting something from you and not hurting you is like mind-blowing. This in turn makes it difficult for you to socialize with others. People may think you're weird or paranoid. You may find it hard to be yourself because you're always on edge waiting for the other shoe to drop. Number 2, you've developed social anxiety. When someone experiences trauma, the ongoing high stress can contribute to the person developing mental illnesses such as anxiety, borderline PD, depression, or other mental health challenges. Folks I've come across who've developed social anxiety have been criticized growing up, rejected, bullied, or made to feel like there's something inherently wrong with them. They are constantly questioning themselves and they tend to have low self-esteem. Folks with social anxiety have a fear of social situations because they fear judgment and scrutiny. They fear being judged as anxious, weak, boring, crazy, or unlikable, just to name a few things. They also fear symptoms that are common to social anxiety, such as blushing, sweating, trembling, talking over others, or staring. Some people avoid social situations altogether because they fear rejection or offending others by not picking up on social cues. This can definitely have a bearing on socializing with other people. Number 3, you freeze. Freeze is a part of our innate response to danger. So according to Pete Walker, it is a camouflage response which often triggers a survivor into hiding, isolating, and avoiding. There is an unconscious belief that people and danger go hand in hand. Some people who freeze tend to gravitate more into solitude and they avoid interacting altogether. However, there are folks who inadvertently engage in functional freeze. This is where they function and operate as normal, but they are just going through the motions and they're in fight or flight mode with an undercurrent of anxiety. You might notice that when you talk to friends, you may disconnect temporarily, enough for the person to notice if they're paying attention. Simple tasks are very overwhelming and you have difficulty making decisions and you feel stuck. You might notice that you can be on edge and extremely vigilant of your surroundings. This can definitely impact your relationships and your ability to socialize with others in a more meaningful way. Number 4, you're in a state of hyperarousal. So when someone experiences trauma, it can be difficult for them to regulate their emotions and they may find themselves operating in a hyperaroused state. Hyperarousal is being in an activated state. Your nervous system is on high alert and there is a perceived sense of danger even when there is no danger to be found. Being present can be challenging and chronic stress can cause panic attacks, while minor setbacks can cause a person to feel easily overwhelmed, angry, or frustrated. For example, let's say that you're in a restaurant and you always have to sit near the exit, or you always have to face the exit to see who's coming and going. If a waiter drops a plate or a patron drops a utensil, you may be the first person to get up and jump up and leave because you have anxiety and fear that something bad is going to happen. This can impact your ability to socialize because you're always on high alert detecting danger that may not even be present. If something were to happen coincidentally, it becomes confirmation that your behavior is justified. Your friends may not understand, and they may get exhausted of you and they think that you're just being paranoid. It's hard for you to trust your surroundings and relax. You may start to feel misunderstood and isolated from others. Number 5 is you never learned how to socialize, so you don't understand social cues. I've mentioned something similar in my previous videos. When someone experiences trauma from a young age, especially prolonged trauma, it can stunt a child's development. They don't develop self-esteem, self-worth, self-protection, and emotional safety, just to name a few things. The child may grow up to be a people pleaser, or they avoid relationships. They may be angry or misunderstood. They're always in fight, flight, fawn, or freeze mode. And because of this, they may not have developed adequate social skills. They find it hard to read the room, so they make inappropriate jokes or comments. They may interrupt people when they're speaking. They interpret light humor as a personal insult, or they sit in a corner to avoid interacting altogether. Either way, they come across as awkward or socially inept. Number 6, you come across as disingenuous. Have you ever gone home from a long day feeling very exhausted, and when you get home, you finally feel like you can be yourself? I've had people tell me, I feel like I can finally take my mask off. They believe that they're flawed, they're boring, they're unintelligent, or they aren't good enough. And because of those factors, they go into the world wearing a mask, being who they think others want them to be, or being who they think they should have been from a long time ago. Being themselves isn't enough because once upon a time ago, they were constantly criticized for breathing the wrong way, or perhaps they grew up in a home where they were always treated and made to feel like their existence was a mistake. The person now internalizes that there is something inherently wrong with them. And if they are themselves, others will see their perceived flaws and judge them. What we don't always realize is that other people can sense when something is off. And when we're trying to be someone that we're not, they may say, don't you guys think that there's something off with Jane? Or, I can't put my finger on it, but John seems fake. He's nice enough, but I just don't know. Not being yourself can be seen as disingenuous, and that is hard to be around. Number 7, you're always defensive or argumentative. This behavior can be very annoying and hard to be around. Sometimes people get defensive and argumentative because they don't want to be seen as someone who can't fight back. I've seen this many times where a person can be on extreme ends of a spectrum. We either become very defensive and argumentative, or we're very passive and non-confrontational. The goal is to find a happy middle ground. Trauma can cause a person to always be on guard, take everything personally, or they feel like they're always being attacked. As a child, they may have been silenced, criticized, abused, and or threatened with violence. As children, we sometimes feel helpless to fight back, and we dream of the day when we can finally fight back and not appear weak. However, now that we're an adult, we don't appear weak. We come across as defensive, annoying, argumentative, and a hard person to communicate with. You're essentially pushing people away and not allowing others to get to know the real you. The last point is you have a false sense of contentment because you're scared. And your socialization skills with this one is at an all-time low. You're so used to being alone and not having anyone to rely on that you don't even want to socialize at all. You're hyper independent and you tell yourself that you finally have peace of mind. I've heard people say, Janelle, being around other people is exhausting. Or I'm so used to my own company, I don't need anyone else. As much as I always encourage people to embrace being alone and getting used to their own company, it can be taken to the extreme at times. One reason being is because of fear. We fear getting hurt, we fear abandonment, we fear rejection, we lack trust, and we don't want to set ourselves up for disappointment. Believe me, I know because I've been there. Sometimes you don't know what you're missing until you have the privilege of experiencing it. You may tell yourself that I don't need friends, but when you finally meet the people who you can laugh with, be yourself with, feel emotionally and physically safe with, you'll wonder where they've been all your life. You'll bask in the experience and you never want to let go. Or perhaps you never want to fall in love because love hurts. But when you finally meet your person, you'll have a best friend for life. It can be a challenge to move out of your comfort zone of safety and familiarity. However, allowing fear to keep you in a false sense of contentment is preventing you from living your life to the fullest capacity. Traumatic experiences from childhood definitely impacts various areas of your life, including socialization. I've said this before, it's not just about what happened to you, it's also about what you didn't experience because of what happened to you. A lot of my clients get mad at themselves for not knowing how to do certain things as an adult. They feel behind. However, the information they think they're supposed to have wasn't their first priority growing up. It was survival. It was walking on eggshells or trying to be invisible in order to escape abuse. Some of you are still in survival mode. Work on healing your trauma with self-compassion and facing the truth with understanding. It takes time to learn what many of your peers have already learned from a young age because they experienced nurturance, empathy, safety, and love. You may be learning on your own or with a therapist, whereas others have had a community behind them. Give yourself grace to move through the tough times. Comment below if you resonate with this video and what your experience with socializing and moving through past trauma was like. It can be past or present. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.